Here's another way of having a look at the pathway options available to students at the college. As we said, we've currently got students either in a VCE program or a VCAL program, and some doing a VET within that. Some students in VCE, however, might be looking at making a change to VCAL for next year. VCAL stands for Victorian Certificate of Applied Learning. And obviously when you're talking about applied learning, you're generally talking about more hands-on learning. So this is the program that is more tailored towards students moving into TAFE and apprenticeships and employment after secondary education is finished. It does not specifically lead to university studies, so you need to be clear about that in terms of your designated pathway. Generally, we have students in Year 11 commencing VCAL at the intermediate certificate level and then moving into Year 12 with the senior certificate level. And then there's some information there. It talks about how we have structured work placement blocks. So we do like students to make sure that they are taking that hands-on approach to their studies and giving them block placement times throughout the year to basically go out and do some work experience. Unfortunately, that's been really hampered this year because of COVID restrictions, but it is something that we are keen to be able to continue to support students when we can. VCAL continues to operate under the outcomes and competencies-based assessment, and as I said, VET is very important component to the experience of VCAL students at Taylors Lake Secondary. So all students in VCAL are undertaking a VET subject, and a VET subject essentially meaning you are completing a TAFE qualification while you are still at high school. Within the VCAL program, so there are sort of 4 key areas within their curriculum. So students at Year 11 at the moment are doing personal development skills, literacy, maths, work-related skills, and also their VET subject. Generally, as they move into Year 12 VCAL, they don't need to do the maths subject as long as they've passed it at the Year 11 level. However, if things aren't sort of going to plan in terms of the maths for Year 11, they will have an opportunity to be able to do that in Year 12 to make sure that they're coming away with the full certificate. You can see some photos down the bottom there of our students within the VCAL program undertaking their structured workplace learning, and it's probably the best part of the course, being out in the on the job and being able to apply those skills that they've been building while they've been at school. But also being able to to live out some of their passions, and there's a pretty good strike rate there of students being able to find some gainful employment from those work placements as well, which is fantastic. You can see the course structure, so it does work a little bit differently. So VCAL students generally are not at school full-time Monday to Friday. Our program for Year 11 and Year 12 VCAL is those students are on site Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, and generally they have they have their VET placements generally for Year 11s on a Tuesday. As they move into Year 12, that will become a Thursday. And as I said, for Year 12, there'll be those structured workplace learning blocks, and they'll take place a couple of times throughout the year, 2 weeks for each of those blocks, which is really important for students to be able to participate in. Okay, if you are a parent of a child that's currently in Year 11 VCAL, we still need you to be able to fill out a form for you to be able to continue with that program into next year. So in the course selection handbook, right at the back, there are copies of forms which you can use just to have a go at. They're not the actual forms. The actual forms, I think, will be in your packs. But as I said, students who are currently in Year 11 VCAL wanting to go into Year 12 VCAL need to complete and submit this form here, which is the continuing form. We may have some students who moved into VCE this year, and again, for one reason or another, are looking at moving into Plan B and would prefer to be considered to complete the Year 12 in the VCAL program rather than VCE. So that is a possibility. As I said before, we currently have 2 classes of Year 11 VCAL, so we would have to look at firstly around availability for spots that open up for VCAL Year 12. But this is the form that you would need to be able to fill out and have that conversation with your course advisor. It's a bit of a typo in the book there. It should say Year 12 VCAL application form, and the one you're looking for there is transfer. Because you're making an application to transfer, that's fine, but we still would like you to be able to also complete your VCE form and to submit that into Web Choices as well, just in case the transfer into VCAL is not possible. In relation to VET studies, so I said all of those students that are currently in VCAL are already doing a VET. However, we do have a number of VETs that we offer on site for VCE students as well to be able to access. So that might be something that students are looking at making a change to their program for Year 12. There is a separate information night that we're going to be taking place on Thursday at 7 o'clock if you would like to find out more specifically about VET and the process around that. Very quickly, it will cover things like how to go about creating a USI, which is a unique student identifier, and that is absolutely essential for students to have in terms of moving into this field, and just showing how you can use that information to be able to look to apply for a VET course through the VET cluster portal. So there are a few other bits and pieces around processes in relation to VET. Okay, for students who are in VCE, hopefully this is not the first time you've seen this, but just confirming around what are your requirements. If you're continuing with VCE into Year 12, to be able to graduate, you need to pass at least 3 units of English. So remember, English, you would have been studying that this year, doing 2 units of Year 11 English, and then moving into units at the Year 12 level, which VCAL is going to refer to as units 3 and 4. So you need to pass 3 out of the 4 over those 2 years. You also need to pass at least 3 other, what's referred to as unit 3 and 4 sequences, which is just a fancy way of saying you need to pass at least 3 other Year 12 subjects. And then over the course of the 2 years, you must have passed at least 16 units within those 2 years. So generally, students at Taylor's Lakes are doing 12 units when they're in Year 11, and then 10 units when they're in Year 12. So a total of 22 units. So you needed to have passed at least 16 out of the 22. I did mention a little bit earlier about the possibility around VC extension studies. So this might be something that students in Year 11 who are currently doing a Year 12 subject might be looking at being able to extend on that the following year. So when you move into Year 12, with already having completed that Year 12 subject, you may be looking to do a first year university course subject while you're in Year 12. So currently we have a small number of students in Year 12 doing that, and generally the eligibility requirements there sit around students being, I guess, very, very high achievers, and a number of different universities now are offering this type of opportunity. So I would encourage students who are thinking about this to look into it more deeply, have a look at the list of universities and so on the page here that are offering their own type of extension studies. And certainly if that's something that you would like to discuss more, please make sure you're flagging that with your course advisor. Okay, in terms of the processes we're using back at the school, so we said we are going to be using web choices again. This is important for us because it allows us as a school to be able to make decisions quickly in relation to what subjects are going to be needing to run for the following year, and we always take student preference as the key driver for that as a school. It is very important, you can sort of see in those dot points there, that students must place their subject preferences in their actual preference order, because that's going to be very important for us in terms of how we go about building the timetable for the following year. In terms of the process itself, so everyone will receive a web choice code, and when you log in to the website, put the code in, and then you'll be able to make your selections. Again, please make sure you're putting them in preferential order, and this is all due on Friday the 9th of August, so that'll be just sort of in line with when we have the course counselling sessions. Again, students who are currently in a Year 11 VCE and wanting to move into Year 12 VCE still need to complete what's referred to as a Year 12 re-enrollment form. There are practice forms in the handbook, but please make sure that you are prepared to submit that. You can do it on the day of your course interview. Okay, just finally, the last couple of things we're going to talk about here in relation to ATAR and tertiary entrance. So I did talk about a couple of these groups before, VCAA and VTAC, but they're essentially in charge of being able to oversee the whole process of students transitioning from Year 12 into tertiary education. So ATAR is maybe something that you're just starting to hear about. It stands for the Australian Tertiary Admissions Rank, and it is that main tool that universities are using to determine who they're going to offer places to. Effectively, how it's calculated is that for each Year 12 subject, effectively they get a score out of 50. A score out of 30 out of 50 generally is seen as being the average score. And it can include a maximum of 6 subjects. And what they'll do there is they'll take the score that you got for English plus your 3 next highest, and any of the subjects that you've done as a 5th subject or a 6th subject, they will give an additional 10% of that score to contribute towards your ATAR, and the highest rank that a student can get for their ATAR is 99.95. Just finally, again, these might be some common questions that come up that we can discuss once this presentation is finished. Some subjects get scaled up and others down. Does that mean I should only do subjects that get scaled up? The short answer to that is no. Please make sure that you are picking things that you have interest in, you think that you're good at. That's very important. Something goes wrong in Year 12 and I fail a subject, if I blow my whole VCE, the answer to that very quickly, no. So there is some flexibility. We had a look at how many units you needed to pass, 16 out of 22, so there is some scope there. How important are prerequisite studies? Yes, very important in terms of being able to make sure that you are being considered for those subjects that you have interest in. If I have accelerated and completed a subject in Year 11, do I still need to do 5 subjects in Year 12? The short answer to that is yes, because that way you can maximize your ATAR with having 6 subjects contribute to it. And finally, what are open days and do I really need to go? So these are things that universities are offering in inviting people to come along, have a look at. Because of COVID restrictions, they are doing things a little bit differently this year, but it is very important. Good evening, everybody. My name is Rick Hudson. I'm one of the assistant principals here at Taylors Lake Secondary College. Thanks for joining us for one of our online information sessions. Doing things a little bit differently this year, as is most things for 2020. And this session is primarily here to be able to support students and their families in the transition from Year 11 to Year 12. just to put things in a context there around how we've set up our course counselling process for this year into these 5 stages. So stage 1 has already taken place with a member of staff getting around to all the Year 11 students last week to start unpacking the process, followed by stage 2, which also happened last week, students receiving their packs, and stage 3 is commencing with these sessions that we're viewing at the moment. Stage 4 will take place next week, and that's where we have the course counselling interviews, which we would normally be doing face-to-face, but as I said, having to do a few things a little bit differently this year. So we will be using a program called WebEx to be able to run those, and we'll have a little bit more information about that coming out in the next few days. And then finally stage 5, which is similar to what we've done in previous years, asking students to be able to lodge their online course preferences for the following year using the program Web Choices, and we will continue to use that again for this year. Our goals today, 3 key ones there, but we do want to make sure that you're getting a full understanding of the options available at Taylor's Lakes, getting some knowledge about how we're going to use Web Choices and what that looks like, and also looking at what processes are in place to be able to support your child's pathway into 2021 and beyond that as well. More specifically, I'm going to look at some of these points. We'll have just a quick look at some of those future employment expectations. What are those key emerging skills? We will have a look at some of those pathway resources that are available to support. We'll look at the options that are available at Taylor's Lakes, and we'll have a quick look at using some of that new terminology coming into Year 12 of the ATAR. One of the key documents that we're asking families and students to have a closer look at is one created by the Australian Government last year, referred to as Australian Jobs 2019, and this outlines some of the key emerging skills that senior students need to be aware of continuing to develop as they move into employment or future education and training over the next few years. Just having a quick look at that list, then you would see a number of those skills are ones that we have been looking at developing with students over a long period of time while they've been at secondary school, and certainly these are the areas that have been identified as having a significant level of importance to employers in the current job market. Another organisation referred to as the FYA has also done some work in this area looking at young people and work, and you can have a look at just some of those key areas there identified as I guess some of the major changes in global markets: automation, globalization and collaboration, so the emphasis on those 3, and the significant opportunities that are available to our young people who are able to embrace those 3 areas and the roles that they can play in being able to be part of them. That also plays out in terms of where young Australians are placed in a global market. So as it points out in the graphic there, those areas of a move towards automation, globalization and collaboration have provided big opportunities for young Australians over the last few years. And particularly if we've got those looking to move into areas of one day creating their own businesses, and certainly just down the bottom there, having a look at in terms of earnings. So since 2000, Australians have doubled their earnings from foreign employment, and moreover, I guess they're just right down the bottom, you can sort of see more young people are graduating from university and VET, which means that we're all placed to sell our services abroad. So it is very much a global economy that we are part of, and things that we are mindful here at Taylor's Lakes. Okay, moving into the second part of the presentation is just making sure that we've got an increased awareness around some of the pathway resources that are available to support students. So you can see on the screen with some of the graphics that are there, and also on the left-hand side in relation to some of those resources that are available to students and families on campus. Certainly the course selection handbook, so that's the school-based document that we put together every year, has information about the actual courses that we will be running for each year. The one underneath that, and you can see that is hyperlinked from this presentation. You can go straight there. But VTAC, which is the group responsible for undertaking that process of supporting students wanting to apply for university courses, they have published a document referred to as Prerequisites for 2022. So 22 would be the year that our current Year 11s mostly would be moving into university. It is important to be able to have a clearer sense of which courses you're interested in, and do any of them have particular prerequisites around the studies that you should be undertaking in Year 12. So that is a very important document. Obviously, you've got some of your human resources with a course advisor that you've all been assigned, and also parents play an important role there in being able to support their child and also offer some of their own experiences, I guess, of going through this as a process, or what their understanding is about the world of work. Another resource that students have probably had a go at working their way through over the last few years at Taylors Lakes has been in relation to this website here called My Future. Again, you can see that there's a link to go into that My Future site as well. It is a fantastic resource, very easy to use, but lots of students may have used it at least to get into what's referred to here as the bullseyes. And these are the bullseyes where students can firstly, looking at the graphic on the left of the screen there, is select a particular category of interest. So you can sort of see on the screen there, top left it says business studies, followed by chemistry, followed by community services, and so on. So they identify an industry that they have some level of connection and interest in. And then within that, they get presented with these bullseyes, which run from a number of related jobs that start at what's referred to as level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. And obviously there are differences in the types of qualifications that you would require in order to be able to access those different jobs. So for instance, level 1 jobs are generally seen as those that students with a Year 10 pass could possibly access, through to level 4 jobs, which are generally jobs that require a bachelor degree. So that's particularly if that's something that students haven't come back to for a while, I would highly recommend they have a go at doing that and looking at the types of job possibilities that come up. When those different job possibilities come up on that screen, they are all hyperlinked themselves, so you could click on them, and then that would take you to further information about that particular job. So just confirming the qualification that you would need. It will confirm things like how many jobs in the last 4 or 5 years have been available in this area. It will give you information about what are the average working hours per week, and it'll also give you information about the average salary you could expect from that type of job as well. So it is really good information to for our students to be having a look at. Another specific guide that has been created by VTAC for supporting senior students is this one here. Again, on the presentation, if you click into the image of the front cover, that will take you straight to that particular document as well. So it does cover information that we're going to cover in this presentation, but it I guess also allows you to go into a little bit more depth and detail in and around that. One of the things that it'll ask students to have a go at doing is because understanding that some students, even in Year 11, moving into Year 12, are not quite sure about what their pathway is going to be. But this is a good activity, I think, for students to be going through and being able to highlight the things that I really love, right through to, no, I hate that, which is fine. It's all about getting to know yourself more deeply, and so you can make those informed decisions about what pathways are best suited to you. VTAC, who I mentioned a little bit earlier, they have a program called Course Search. This is a fantastic resource for senior students. It is something that you can load onto your phone through an app, or just come through through the internet as well. But this gives you the opportunity to be able to put in some of those key words. It might be the name of a particular job, or it might be the name of a course that you already know exists at some universities, or an interest area. You can load that into the system, and it will come up with all the courses that are available that relate to that search, and it will also then tell you what the prerequisites, if any, because remember, most university courses these days are not requiring specific subjects to be undertaken in Year 12, but you do need to make sure that you're doing your homework and not coming to a position where you won't be eligible to be considered for a particular course because you didn't have a particular subject in your Year 12 program. And your course advisors will be able to help you clarify that as well. But Course Search is available for anybody at any time. I would highly encourage our Year 11 students to be doing some work around that. So when you come to your course advice session, you can show your course advisor that you've done some homework, and you've got a firm understanding of what is offered and what is needed. Okay, moving into the third part of our presentation, and this is just looking at some of the pathway options that are available to our students at Taylor's Lakes. So for students in Year 11 at the moment, so obviously we've got students already in either a VCE program or a VCAL program. Some students who are in the VCE program are currently already doing a VET subject. Those students who are in the VCAL program are definitely doing a VET subject. But we can also see that right down the bottom there, I guess the only sort of main difference for students in Year 11 coming into Year 12 is the possibility of what's referred to as university extension studies, and I'll get into that shortly. There may be some students who are currently in VCE, Year 11 VCE, that are looking to make a change as to whether they can move into Year 12 VCAL, and I'll go into a bit of information about that shortly as well. So the key things for students to keep in mind is making sure that you are choosing subjects based on your interests and your abilities. That way you will be best placed to be able to maximise your results. Make sure you are making informed choices. I appreciate that there's a lot of information that's out there to sift through, but it is important that you are taking some time to be able to research things thoroughly to make sure you are making those informed decisions. Part of that is considering those prerequisite subjects for tertiary studies, and making sure that you're working with others to be able to support you in terms of your parents, your teachers and your course advisors. In relation to your student interview appointment letters, so these were made available to you in the packs that went out. Interviews are taking place on the 11th of August via WebEx, and as I said, it is a different way of doing things this year, but hopefully we will be able to all make it work effectively. It is important to be able to get your forms in on time, so as a school we can continue to meet all our deadlines and being able to put things forward around creating timetables and confirming subjects for students for the following year. So please just go through those dot points, make sure you've made your choices clearly, and in preference order. You've met with your career advisor, you've had your parents help you with that decision making, you have entered things correctly on Web Choices and had that all confirmed there by signing it, also your parents and your course advisors as well. So thank you very much for your attention. As I said, it is a very different way of being able to deliver this information, but we thank you for your attendance and support of your child. If you've got any follow-up email questions that you'd like, please use the email below, and thank you again for your attention.